Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Astro Masterclass. Today, I am absolutely thrilled to be talking to Frank Clifford because, well, I've been a longtime student of his teachings from afar, from his webinars, lectures, and articles. They all have been a huge source of inspiration for me. And I also remember that I learned from one of your webinars, Frank, the technique of solar arcs a long time ago. So it's a pleasure to transition today from being in the audience to a one-on-one conversation. Thank you so much, Frank, for being here and for accepting my invitation.
Oh, well, thank you, Sophia. I wish you very well with your channel, and it's lovely to be part of it.
Great, thank you so much. So if you all have watched the previous episodes, you know by now a little bit about the format. We'll be exploring 12 questions together and simply enjoying a little bit of a deep dive into our favorite subject. So let's get started. And as always, the first question is about you. Could you, Frank, say a little bit about yourself, present yourself?
Okay, well, my name is Frank Clifford. I've been an astrologer for, about professionally, maybe 30 years, but studying for about 35, 36 years. And I'm also a hand reader. I've written about both subjects. I publish, I lecture, I travel around the world lecturing. I have schools in England, online, in China, in Japan, and I just keep myself busy. I run the Mountain Astrologer now, so yes, I'm keeping myself very busy as an astrologer with many different hats on. Yeah.
Many different hats. Yeah, definitely. Um, so if we were like at a party, could you give us your big three? I say this because when you meet someone, maybe that's the way to start a conversation by entering into astrology, your sun, moon, and ascendant. And if you have any thoughts or images that arise from there, do you perceive some kind of narrative connecting them or something like that?
Sure. Well, the narrative is me. Um, so
There's a lot of Aries there,
There you
no?
go. Yes, indeed. Well, I'm a sun in Aries, moon in Virgo, and ascendant or rising sign in Gemini. So
Oh.
it's a Mercury-Mars combination,
Mm.
really, in that way. And that feels like me. It feels like I'm always uh, researching, pursuing information, sharing it, learning it.
Yeah.
That two-way process always of being uh, inspired and interested in life. They always
Mm.
say, it's better to be uh, it's better to be interested in life than to just sit around trying to be interesting for other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that's what keeps you young is to keep you interested in learning more, in hearing people's ideas. I'm a bit more selective these days just
Mm.
because of time, but yeah, it's that combination. So the images that arise, just me being busy and juggling many things.
Very
I
mercurial.
love, I love my chart. I think we should all love our charts. If we don't
Yes,
love our charts, we haven't been given the right tools to understand them properly, or
absolutely.
they haven't been explained to us in a way
Mm.
that really reflects who we are. So I like my chart. I love my chart, and I love being a moon in Virgo. Even though when I first looked up my chart, I was hoping for a moon in Leo because it was
Yeah.
on the day, and it sounded so much better in the books. But I really do appreciate my Virgo moon. Not everyone else appreciates it, I'm sure, because particularly when I notice mistakes and
Mm.
my Aries wants to say, "Oh, you've made a mistake there. Can I help?" Some people don't want that, of course.
Yeah.
But my Virgo moon is why I want to do things well,
Mm.
and that everything I do, I think Aries is a perfectionist as well,
Hmm.
but Virgo adds the detail, and they're both workaholics, the Aries and the Virgo.
Yeah.
So
You can
I,
see the little thing that nobody sees, maybe also
that's
the
right, and
detail.
yeah, and I have about four or five different jobs that I do, maybe
Mm.
more, but and I look at other people and they manage to fill all their time up with just doing one of those. And I
Mm.
think, wow, okay. And they tell me they're too busy maybe to do something. And that makes me laugh because I have a lot of time off as well, which people don't believe when I say that.
Yeah.
But it
Time
allows,
management.
Yeah, it's about time management and it allows
Mm-hmm.
me to come back refreshed, renewed. So there's a lot of time where I'm just on Venus and I enjoy films, I enjoy music, and then I come back and I work efficiently, quickly, and thoroughly.
Mm,
So I might do what other people do in sort of half the time. I don't know.
yes. Yeah, I'm a little bit like that because I have a Gemini moon and Jupiter in Aries. So
Okay. I
I'm
would
with
love
you with that.
Jupiter in Aries. I always think there are two placements that I would love to have if I came back again. One of them would be Jupiter in Aries because it's so great at lighting people's fires, and getting people excited.
In the ninth house, I have
In
it.
the ninth house, wonderful. And I don't mind. I would take any house. It's okay.
Okay.
Um, and in some systems, I have Jupiter in the ninth as well, but in Aquarius.
Mm,
And the other one would be Venus in Sagittarius or Mars in Sagittarius
yeah.
because they're so adventurous, and I'm not. I'd love to go abseiling and to do adventurous things, but
Yeah.
my Saturn rising says, don't break your leg.
Mm,
Don't end up hurting yourself.
yeah. And the Virgo moon may be a little bit cautious about, yeah.
Definitely.
Mm,
Yes. And my dad was a personal injury lawyer, and my sister is. So the whole thing about taking care of yourself, not having accidents, is really
mm.
ingrained in me as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I can see that. Um, so how would you define your own practice of astrology? Maybe in the way that it is today, but of course you have been in this domains for so many years. Many things have changed along the way. So how do you see yourself
It
in
has.
your
Well,
practice? Yeah.
I was I was called a humanistic astrologer before I
Mm,
really even began to label myself. I think
mm,
I have Mars and Jupiter on the midheaven in Aquarius. I'm not interested in labels so much.
mm,
But somebody said, "Oh, you're a humanistic astrologer," and I thought, "Oh, okay, that's fine. I'm okay with that." Um, I always felt it was more psychological, but all astrology comes from tradition. It all
mm,
comes from a history.
of course.
So, defining yourself is a bit like saying that you taught yourself astrology. No one ever teaches themselves astrology because,
Yeah.
every book we read, everything we watch, is somebody informing us and hopefully broadening our knowledge. So. I guess it's humanistic. I am much more interested in um, helping people see what they're here to do. I'm a Sun Uranus as well, so that idea of
Mm,
waking people up,
mm,
getting people to remember what they're here to do, and that's not everybody's journey
yeah.
to do it or to receive it, and a lot of people sleepwalk through life or they choose different ways of being. But I found myself surrounded by friends and family and clients who need that sort of Aries energy to
Mm,
to prompt it. So I guess I'm an astrologer and a palmist that wants to encourage people to be who they were born to be. I look at forecasting, of course, with
mm,
transits and solar arcs, but in reality, you make your life. You take up invitations.
true.
Sometimes life happens to you, of course. Other
Yeah.
people are in your life,
Mm,
but the idea that we just sit around as astrologers making predictions, that
mm,
feels very foreign to me.
yeah.
Um, I'd much rather a client feels empowered to make a choice that's in line with who they are.
Yeah.
So that's my type of astrology,
Mm,
and I want people to go away feeling supported,
mm,
empowered, but not reliant on me or the
yeah.
astrology. Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
that sums
that's
it up. Yeah.
beautiful. So what was your journey? How did you become a professional astrologer? What brought you
Well,
here?
briefly, I started at 16, and I picked up probably at 14. I picked up Parker's Complete Astrologer, the book by Julia and Derek Parker, and Linda Goodman's Sunshine. They were in
Mm.
all the bookshops when we had bookshops back then. And it was just a revelation. It was wonderful. I wanted to be the Aries that Linda Goodman was describing. And I
Mm.
think that was her gift. Her gift was to
Empower
encourage
people,
you,
yeah.
yes, to see inside what
Yeah.
the heart was speaking, really. And I was a very Saturn rising Moon in Virgo teenager,
Mm.
very introverted, self-contained, and quiet. And I love the idea of blossoming into this. And so it really unlocked a key. And I started to learn palmistry a year later. And the woman that taught me said to me, "Oh, when you learn palms, you won't be interested in astrology anymore," she said to me, because they're so instant. You can look at somebody's life, what they've done, all of that very, very quickly. And to some extent, she was right. It's an amazing roadmap.
Mm,
But palmistry gives me the general roadmap
mm,
and what somebody's done with their lives and what they're in the process of becoming. And astrology gives me so much more detail.
yeah.
I always say the difference between the two of them is like um, with palmistry, you're reading a sat nav, a satellite navigator, and it
Okay.
tells you the road ahead, it
Hmm.
tells you the terrain, traffic here, and problems here. And the chart is like being in the car when you can smell the
Mm,
coffee as you pass by the coffee shop or hear the chatter. You can see the colors. It gives you a lot more detail, a lot more color. So those two together were an amazing gift at the age
yeah.
of 16 and 17. And then I think 21, when I came back from university, my first gig was to do a fundraiser. And it was at a nightclub. And they put me under a strobe light, like a flickering.
Yeah.
I said, I can't read hands under a strobe
Oh.
light. You're going to have to put me somewhere else. So they put me on a under a in a bar somewhere, very, very noisy. And I read the palms, not the charts of people.
Mm,
And one of them was so impressed that he invited me to his office and then told all his friends about me.
mm,
So and then was kind enough to give me office space as I saw his
mm,
friends. So that
okay.
was a very nice, generous gift from a Sagittarian.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And he sort of opened up my professional life
Mm,
for me. So it
yeah.
was so I've been doing it really for I'm 52 now. I've been doing it since I was 21, professionally being paid for it or
Yeah.
fundraising with it. But
Hmm.
those first 5 years were, and the next 30 have been about learning and non-stop working with people. Obviously, you never stop learning astrology.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. What brings us to the next question. Do you stay informed about developments, revivals in the field of astrology? Do you think it's important for astrologers to do so? And do you also continue to study even basic concepts already learned?
I do. I
And
mean, I
yeah.
often say to the students, if some of them say, I've learned a little bit, there's a lot of quick ways to learn astrology online.
Yeah.
You can get a diploma from a weekend
Mm,
of learning some, and that bothers me because when I meet the students, they know very little, or they just know some keywords about the signs and planets and have got no idea how to put it together. So, as a teacher of astrology for the LSA, I'm a big fan of come back to the beginning,
mm,
learn, piece it together, fill in the gaps, learn, go deep with it, and learn as much as you can. And I often say to the students, if I weren't teaching you right now, I'd be sitting in the class learning
mm,
because you can never stop learning the
yeah.
basics. You
Yeah.
always put the ideas together. Somebody else has got a phrase or an image that works, that speaks to you that you've never heard before. So I love learning from other people. What I'm a little bit cautious about are um, we astrologers love to invent things. I thought I'd invented solar arc. That's my big joke. I started to look at the chart and I thought, oh, that works. I didn't realize people have been doing it for years. But we astrologers love to run with a theory or idea. And I often invite people to the school to present a particular idea. And a lot of the time these days, I'm not that impressed, or I think actually that can be done far more easily somewhere else. It's a bit like working out the lots or the parts of
Mm-hmm.
fortune and everything
Yeah.
else. There are some very convoluted ideas that come, and the result is a couple of key words about somebody that you could see
In
in
something else.
in the
Yep.
chart.
Yep. Yep.
So I do wonder sometimes. I think astrologers like to obviously own something themselves.
Mm,
I
yep.
understand that.
Yeah.
But they also like to run with some ideas that, Michael Lutin, who died over a year ago, he used to say that more you add to a chart, the more you're admitting your inability to communicate with it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I understand that to some
Yeah.
extent because, you start adding loads and loads of things, and maybe the client gets confused, you don't know which is what, and everything becomes everything, or every little thing becomes important. So I understand that. At the same time, I have a lot of respect for people who are adding
Mm,
some new discoveries into the chart. What I tend to do is I tend to put them on the outer part of the chart. So I'm observing them, but they're
mm,
not cluttering up the center. And
mhm.
so you've got the main planets from the sun to Pluto,
Yep.
and then maybe the others around the edge,
Mm,
just so I can start to see them work.
yep.
And that's, for me, that's good advice rather than putting another 10 things into the chart
Mhm.
and just feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And it's sort of diminishing returns.
Mm,
Um, so that's how I feel about that. But of course, I love that people are studying these new things.
yeah.
As soon as I have time, I want to grab what the best of what they've got and then
Yep.
share it. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
of
I
course.
feel the same, and I felt the same with the when you add the asteroids. I think they are bringing what you said, the idea of another keywords, but keywords that maybe we already have had with other aspects. Let's say for a series, maybe you look at Pluto and you can see a little bit of the same thing. So yeah, I felt that same thing. And I'm totally with you with the idea of wanting to reinvent maybe something, but maybe that's something a little bit of a Aries, right? Well, my Jupiter in Aries likes loves to do that, and I have a little drawer where I put my ideas, and
Yeah,
I come back to them a few years later to develop them. I really
great.
like that.
I, I think we should never stop learning as astrologers.
Absolutely.
Um, I just think that the basics and everything is there already,
Hmm,
and the new discoveries are a reflection of our own new discoveries, just
absolutely.
like the outer planets were
Yeah.
back then. So as they're coming along, I'm interested in what people are doing, but I'm sort of patient as much as an Aries
Mm,
could be,
yeah.
on just waiting to see what develops rather than rushing to put everything in.
Mm,
So it's not that I'm closed to it. It's just I'm careful about
yeah.
overloading the student and myself with everything else. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, and are there any astrologers or books that have particularly influenced your work? Which ones and why?
Well, I
With all
mentioned
that Mercury, I'm sure you.
yes, yes. Well, you can see behind me that I have all my
Yeah.
astrology books behind. The palmistry are on the side here, but the astrology and all the magazines are at the back
Mm,
as well. Just the ones I've actually written for. And the yes, I mean, I mentioned Linda Goodman. I think she was a tremendous uh, resource and inspiration for people in the 60s,
mm,
70s, and even me, 16-year-old in the late 80s, or even earlier, reading her books. So, uh, and then, yes, there's so many good. This is one of the reasons why I didn't write my own astrology books until later.
mm,
I published a little data book of full of people's information and birth data and biographies, but if you're going to write a good astrology book, you know that you're going to be on the shelf alongside Rob Hand, Liz Green, Stephen Arroyo, Howard Porters, Melanie Reinhardt, so many brilliant minds. It's rather daunting.
yep.
So it took me a long time before I thought I need to. Am I ready to say something that's different or
Yeah.
say it with new enthusiasm, new energy? So it took me until my 30s to write
Mm,
um, books really on astrology rather than data books. One of my big influences early on was Lois Rodden, who created Astro Data Bank
mm,
before she died. And because I was always interested in collecting and uh, my Virgo moon, my Saturn
yep.
rising in Gemini, all of that, just interested in accurate birth details, birth data. I loved reading her Profiles of Women, which was her big book on uh, famous women. She had a biography and then the chart above. And I would always notice the Rodden rating, all the different data sources.
Mhm.
And I wrote to her, I guess, oh my goodness, probably 20, 21 years old, maybe. And we had a friendship for 10 years before she died. And uh, it was, yeah, she was inspiring because I
Mm.
wanted to collect accurate information. I want to do more than that. A lot of data collectors just collect the data and provide it, and thank heavens they do. But uh, she inspired me to collect the data, how important it was to get accurate information,
Yes.
and then I want to do something with it. I want to explore it. I want to analyze it. I want to do more than just Gemini. I want to Virgo it.
Yeah.
So I stayed with Lois. I edited her books for her, um, her little data news magazine at times. And I always joke, this is absolutely true, but she said to me, what should I call this, um, this computer program they're creating? And I said, call it Astro Data Bank.
Oh, it was you.
So she did, yes, she did, which is really nice. And, it's fun.
That's so funny with the yeah, with all the Mercury that you have. It's so
Well,
it's literal.
I did a Clifford data compendium for Solar Fire.
Mm,
And Lois wasn't happy that I did that. She was upset because she wanted me to herself.
mm.
But anyway, that's another story. But I was curious and I was offered a chance to do that, so I created that. So people knew me in the 1990s for collecting data, the Clifford Data Compendium on Solar Fire,
Okay.
then Astro Data Bank and doing all of that. But it just makes me laugh because sometimes people come up to me and say, you know what, you should have a look at a website called Astro Data Bank, they say to me. And it just makes me laugh because I think, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, really?
Oh, really?
I will, thank you.
Oh. Absolutely. So funny.
So I guess Lois was probably the one that I had the strongest connection with growing up. And then of
Mm.
course running my school, you get to meet
Yep.
all the astrologers that you admire and want to learn from. And yeah, and I still want to learn from them. I sometimes sit to them. I'm in the background recording whatever session they're doing online for me, but I'm also a student, a eternal student, always learning
Absolutely.
from people. Yeah.
I'm with you with that phrase. Um, what other types of knowledge inform and nourish your astrological practice? And do you think that's a major key element for any astrologer who wants to develop their approach and practice astrology?
What sort of knowledge are you thinking of? What other types?
Well, I think that maybe sometimes people add some their interests, their personal interest into astrology, like or maybe people who do astrology and have followed a psychology curriculum or philosophy. Others who do like I do also flower essences with astrology. Um, what do you
Right.
those
Well,
kind
yes.
of
I mean, I've always done astrology and palmistry together, and they
yeah,
work very
of
well
course.
together. But really, on a general level, I think that having some sort of counseling experience really
Yep.
helps with clients. It's I've just seen so much damage done where the
Mm,
astrologer becomes the guru. They tell you what is going to happen or what you should do. And really, a consultation is a dialogue. Working with a birth chart is a dialogue between you and the heavens.
so
Anyway,
true.
and then you have to find a way to have a dialogue with that third entity, the most important, the client. So coming along and wanting to be respected or famous for your predictions, as I've met people along the way, or it's more about ego. Now we all have an ego,
Yeah,
I'm not pretending to be
of
all
course.
pious but it's that bothers me. So I say to everyone, at least do some counseling work. And I tell them, I teach every aspect of astrology in my school, and other people teach for me. But one of the big things is, I say to them, I've made every mistake that I'm teaching you about not
Mhm.
to make, that I'm telling you not to make, and you probably will make them, but a
Mm,
bit like a parent, Uh, and I've said too much to clients, even, I've been tired, I've not listened enough, all the things that we do as
yeah,
astrologers, we're
of
learning.
course.
And said too much, said too little,
Mm,
whatever, or try somebody who was in a desperate situation really wanted your assurance that something was going to get better.
Mm.
Human being, you want to give it to them, and
Yeah.
then learn later that you can't.
Yeah.
You can't tell them everything is going to be
Mm.
better. You can't predict that. You can't take the responsibility. So all these sorts of things, I think, are vital. So some sort of, whether it's hopefully more than a weekend, but what, some sort of counseling work is essential to help with a practice to see clients, because it's not about you as an astrologer. It's
Mm.
about what you can do for them. And it's about the interaction, the dialogue between the two of you. So that to me is always high on the list beyond anything else, really.
Yeah. Um, and that connects us to the next question. How do you approach sensitive issues or potentially difficult or challenging transits or other like progressions in the consultation?
Well, you could look at it in different ways.
Yeah.
Maybe every transit is potentially difficult.
Hmm.
Yeah, because even the so-called nicest ones,
Yeah.
that you might look at and want people to have or look for yourself, like a Jupiter transit. Well, yeah, you can have too much of a good thing. It can be problematic in all sorts of ways. So I think the best thing that anybody can do, or at least I can do, I can speak for myself, is to describe the season, to describe the theme of what is going on, to give people a range of possibility, but to always encourage them to honor the planet, on it, the transit, whatever it may be, um, rather than setting it up that it's going to be difficult. There are times when, if I see, for example, a client working very, very hard and they want to have a break, they're thinking about taking a year out, but Saturn is coming to their moon or their Mercury, it's likely that's going to be a busy time. And so I'll be very honest about saying usually those times are full of responsibilities, commitments. There are different things that you just have to plow, keep your head down and keep working. But at the same time, I'll say to them, uh, work super hard in this month, but at the weekend, take time off, go on a long weekend, do something quite different. So I think for me, when you describe a so-called difficult transit, there's always a strategy.
Hmm.
May not always be a solution, but there's a strategy.
Yeah.
There's always time to do something opposite.
Yeah.
So if it's full of Venus, do a bit of Mars at the end of the week. Go to the
Hmm.
gym. If it's Jupiter, do a bit of Saturn. So I think our work as astrologers is to describe the season and to give people strategies, and
Yeah.
sometimes to think outside of the box and to
Hmm.
think, well, this is maybe the opposite, like the Saturn transit. Take a weekend off, fly off somewhere lovely,
Yeah.
and just leave your phone behind or whatever. So
Yeah.
I think strategy is the most important thing. Everything is potentially sensitive. Everything is potentially difficult. A so-called Jupiter transit may come too late for somebody. I had this client many years ago burst into tears when she said to me, when am I gonna, I've just broken up with my boyfriend, when am I gonna find some love? And I desperately searching the ephemeris, thinking, what am I gonna say? What am I gonna do? I don't know how to do it. This is
Yeah.
He's a much
We've
younger.
all been there, I think.
And I said to her, and it was something like October time. And I said to her, well, in February you have a really lovely aspect. And it was something like Jupiter sextile Venus. I mean, it
Mm.
was hardly,
Yeah,
it was
not very
clutching at
strong.
straws, and I was desperately trying to help her.
Yeah.
And she burst into tears because she wanted something for Christmas,
Oh,
and at the time I thought, oh my goodness, it's only 4 months away. But then you realize that clients have their own upsets, their own expectations, their own worries and stresses and all sorts of things. So, you learn a lot when you see clients.
so true.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so everything is potentially problematic, even if you're trying
Mm.
to help. I have a client at the moment who just had Jupiter cross over his midheaven,
Mm.
along with a lot of other stuff, but he was diagnosed with a very rare cancer.
Mm.
I mean, how do you describe to somebody a Jupiter transit over the midheaven as being that? I mean, it
Mm.
obviously isn't that, um, but it's
But it
completely.
came at the same time as the, yeah,
Yes, a bit like
that's
all the
yeah,
wonderful transits we had
yeah.
during lockdown.
Mm. Yeah.
But okay, that went, and I couldn't travel, couldn't do this, couldn't do that, perhaps, or you just have to find different ways of doing it. So, I think the biggest challenge is knowing how to articulate things to
Yeah.
clients in a
Hmm.
way that gives them power,
Hmm.
and it also gives them a sense of this is manageable. The
Hmm.
astrologer has described it, so I'm not fearful or I'm not expecting too much. I say to students, don't be too Jupiter with
Hmm.
your clients, don't be too
Absolutely.
Saturn,
Yes, so true.
because you end up being the transit that you're predicting,
Hmm.
all of that sort of thing. So yes, lots of potentially difficult things. Like I'm not qualified to talk about health.
Yeah, yeah, so
So
true.
I
Yeah,
rarely do. If I talk about
of
health,
course.
it would be a very general thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you're an air sign, lots of fresh air,
Yeah,
breathe.
absolutely. Yeah, me too.
Alexander's
That's what I
technique.
do.
Yeah. Because I send them to somebody if they need health,
Yeah.
but I can't do it and I shouldn't do it. I'm not allowed, I'm not
Yes,
allowed
of course, of
to
course.
do it. So we have to avoid things like that. I
Mm,
also talking about children,
mm,
pregnancy, stuff like that, because that is so loaded. It
mm,
contains so much anxiety
mm,
and problems. And over the years, I've seen astrologers, mainly male astrologers, try to help women get pregnant at particular times and through astrology, I must add,
yeah.
and just causing chaos and problems. So I've
Mm.
always kept away from uh,
Yeah, and
things like that.
expectation and all sorts of insatisfaction that comes from there. So yeah, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
I,
There are
I, I
astrologers that do that and let
yeah.
them do it. And if they do it
Mm,
professionally and ethically, great.
mm,
But it's not something I would ever promise to do. And I think we
mm.
should know what we do and what we don't want to do. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. All of that makes me think about. I have this idea of sublimation, of uh, every year I do at the beginning of the year I do a guide for
Mm.
in French for my French customers and students, and in that guide I talk about the aspects or change of planets that are going to happen, and I always give a page for each one with how can you sublimate this energy? How can you look at it from another perspective without having to be? So yeah, I also think about it's so important to give another, um, yeah, to balance what it is to stay in the middle path, let's say.
Yes. And
Yeah.
yeah, to give people strategies,
Mm,
ideas, um, and yeah, my favorite phrase at the moment, and I say this at conferences sometimes, uh, and it upsets the traditionalists sometimes, but people always talk about debility, and you might have read something in about your chart that's in debility or in fall, and that really annoys me because it's never accompanied with a proper explanation or
explanation.
something
Yes. So
useful,
true.
Never is. It's just like, well, that's instability.
Mm,
And you hit a point, a nerve in a client that knows already that they feel insecure about something.
yeah.
We all feel insecure about something, and then
Hmm.
an astrologer said, "It's that," and they pointed. So my latest phrase is the only debility is the astrologer's inability to say something constructive. That's where
So
you've got
true.
the debilitation is the
Mm,
astrologer in unable to be
mm,
helpful, unable to help you through something.
mm.
It's a very big debility by when you've got an egotistical astrologer trying to
Mm,
prove themselves to you or tell you what to do. Yeah.
yeah. So what do you prefer in astrology, the subjective experience or the technique, and why? And what is your favorite technique if you have any?
Um, I love teaching astrology. I love it when the penny drops and students get it. I really like that. I particularly like teaching year two, where we teach them forecasting, uh, some mundane astrology, relationship astrology, synastry, those sorts of things. I
Mm,
love that because the they know the basics and they can start to see how it works so well. So that's one of my the great gifts that I get is teaching and seeing that happen. Um, uh, I love researching. I do a lot of articles. I do a lot of work and researching and writing. So I love the putting together and seeing how somebody speaks their chart.
mm,
I love doing that. And I also love seeing clients as well.
yeah.
And I tend to see clients just for a month, a few times a year. So
Yeah.
I put in maybe 20 dates and let people know, or it comes up on the website, people book in, and then maybe 6 months later, I'll put in another 20 dates. Otherwise, I would just be tired, and I don't
Hmm.
want to be checking my watch when I'm seeing a client. I don't want to be thinking, oh, that's the second one today. I've got one more. Or,
Yeah.
yeah, I want to be able to
Hmm.
give people enthusiasm or energy.
Yeah.
So
And
I love,
presence.
you know, I love how astrology, people speak their charts. I love that. I love how it's reflected in the mundane picture of what's going on around us. I love a lot of aspects of it. I wouldn't just be happy sitting here collecting data or simply
Mm.
researching. The one thing that doesn't interest me so much is researching on a mass data
Mm.
type of level. Seeing 1,000 people who have got IQs of this, and then a
Mm.
thousand people who haven't. That misses the point.
Mm.
I worked with Francoise Gauquelin many years ago,
Oh,
of
okay.
course, before some years after her husband died, of
Yeah.
course. But and um, she left her work in my will in her will to me,
Mm.
um, and I admired what they did. They did tens of thousands of
Yeah.
data research, but I loved what she did with the keywords and how she understood the biographies, more than simply saying
Yeah.
Mars is strong in the charts of entrepreneurs and athletes. Yeah, but it is sometimes and it isn't. And when I met her for the first time, she said it doesn't work individually. It just works with tens of, thousands of
Mm. Yeah.
people. Or whatever.
Okay.
And I thought,
Hmm.
oh, that's interesting.
Hmm.
And what she found, the most important thing I think the Goklands found was that it puts an impression on you. It gives you a particular energy, character, personality, whatever you want to call it,
Hmm.
that is important. So if you've got Saturn in one of their zones, it makes you a Saturn type, whatever you do for a living.
Hmm.
So I always admired that. But sitting around trying to work out that maybe there's a 2 or 3% more likelihood that
Hmm.
this combination is found here as opposed to somewhere else. Um, I'm not helping anybody that way. I'm just trying
Yeah.
to prove something that the
Mm.
scientists will never listen to anyway. I don't,
Hmm.
and they won't care about.
Yeah.
So the people that do that, great. If they love to do it,
Yeah.
let them do it. But for me,
Hmm.
I'd much rather talk to a student or a client one on one and get them to see something about their lives that's useful. Yeah.
Yeah. It's yeah. Maybe your Virgo moon doesn't feel nourished and doesn't nourish the other, so there's something there.
Yeah, something of substance if I can.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
Um, and what about boundaries? Do you set for yourself? Do you set sorry? Do you set some boundaries for in a consultation? And what do you think is important for astrologers to know about boundaries when doing consultations? Maybe
Well,
we said a little bit about that.
that's a lot, isn't it? There's a lot to
Yeah,
talk about. But I think briefly, time is probably the first boundary.
yeah.
I've heard
That
astrology,
comes a lot whenever I ask that question.
of
Yeah.
course, that's the ultimate boundary. I remember
Mm,
thinking I was doing special work for a client because I was going on and I was so enthusiastic
yeah.
as a 20 something, 30 something. And then I saw them look at their watch, like, I've got to go. And I remember thinking, okay, that's a good reminder to
I
to
had that also.
yes,
I
you had that.
Yeah, I had that experience.
Yeah.
My Scorpio sun, with all my planet Mercury in Scorpio, that goes deep, 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 and then yeah, it's time.
Yes, yes. And I remember that and thinking, okay, not everybody is going to be as enthused as I am about anything. And some people just need to go
So
after
true.
an hour. Uh, I reduced my time from 90 minutes to 75 minutes uh, to I just felt the rhythm of what I was doing was better suited to that
Mm,
time in terms of people's concentration, my energy, all of that. But I've seen some astrologers say, I will work with them on karmic things, for instance, and will go on as long as it's needed. And it feels maybe like a Spanish Inquisition. It's like, well, how long do you feel is needed? Maybe the person needs a break. Maybe doing an hour of work. with them is perfect. And then they need time to think about what you're
Yep.
talking about. The idea of like breaking through karmic walls and barriers by doing a 3 hour consultation, it's it's like a torture chamber, perhaps. It could be, couldn't it? So that bothers me how this idea of we just do as much as people need. Um, there are some people that are always going to need a bit more, but they can always come back.
Yeah.
I never do a session where I remember meeting a tarot reader, and I know a lot of very good tarot readers, but she said to me, "Oh, I do a 20-minute reading and I give them enough, but I also dangle a carrot and make them want to come back." And I was rather appalled and astonished by her because I always thought I'm going to try and do a complete consultation in those 75 minutes. We're not going to cover everything, but it needs to have an ending to it as well. So the idea that I try to get them excited about booking again, that is
Yeah, that's a little bit bothering. Yeah,
no,
of
that would
course.
bother me. Yeah. So the timing boundary, I remember learning over the years that it's important for the astrologer to have a good method of how they're going to approach, particularly when they're beginning. So you sit down, you explain what you're going to do. You maybe point out a few things if they want to see visually, or if you're online, you've got the screen to share with them. But talk to them about what you're going to do. Then explain different parts of the chart, etc., and have that structure. Um, the astrologer should be in charge of the structure, and the client should be in charge of how much they reveal. So we're not pushing. Well, tell us about this. And it looks like you've got a bad relationship with your mother. Tell me more. No, no. Is there anything you want to share? Do you recognize what I've been saying about your chart? Any questions? How does that work for you?
Yeah.
These are all important questions to ask rather than be pushing. And otherwise, I would say to students, do not start with the moon in the chart when you begin. It's too personal, too sensitive. And if you do it badly, the person, like the moon or the crab, just clams up and they're
Yeah.
defensive. Yeah, so it's better to start with the midheaven, the ascendant, some general things, a general chat about how you see astrology. So um, those are important boundaries, and the client for them not to feel like they have to tell you anything.
Yeah.
But I do encourage consultation. Sometimes years ago you get clients who come in and they're sort of like, prove it to me.
Yeah.
Or it's been bought as a present for them, and they just want to know what astrology
Also true. The presence.
present
It's
one. And
never a good idea, I think.
no,
The person really has to love astrology or have some knowledge of it and want it, because when it's someone that comes with the idea that we are going to tell them their fortune, their future, it's difficult.
Indeed. And if it's a present, I'll say to the person, can you put me in touch with them? I will send them my blurb, what it says about what I do, or we can
Yeah.
have a conversation for a few minutes. But it's not useful for the client, and it also makes the student astrologer, the beginning consultant, very anxious.
Oh, yeah.
It puts you on your back, on your back feet, what they say. Oh, just
In
puts you
defense.
on a
Yeah.
defensive mode, yes.
Yeah.
Um, because you're then trying to prove, and then and really what we want is a conversation.
Yeah.
Why are you here? How can I help? Now, these days, most of the people I see are astrologers. They book to see me, or they're student astrologers, um, and they've got some knowledge of astrology. So we
Yeah.
talk astrology in the group in
Mm-hmm.
these sessions.
Mm-hmm.
But I can say to them, so how can I help? Years ago, when I was starting out, if I said that to them, I'd be stuck and I would feel out of my depth. So I would usually do the 20 minutes of this is your chart and this is what we look at, and then let them in. Because, but nowadays, I'm fine if they say to me, well, I want to
Yeah.
talk about this and that. That comes with experience, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah, of course. And yeah, the same thing. When I started, it was this idea of having like a template, I could say, to what I was going to explore. And now it's the idea you are coming because you have something you want to know about, to talk about. So let's start from there. But did you at the beginning? Well, when I started, when I had a client to see, I would do 8 hour research for the
Course.
consultation that was coming in the next day. But that was just incredible. Nowadays, 1 hour before or half an hour to look at the everything that is going on quickly and entering into the chart and all of that. But at
Yeah.
the beginning, did for you? Did
We
you
do
took a
too
lot of
much
time?
work. We do too much work at the beginning because of our anxiety. And
Yeah.
I did a lot of uh, fundraising, 20-minute sessions, going to a company or Christmas party and you end up knowing what to focus on because
Yep.
if you start talking to a client about their quincunx or their sesquiquadrate, most of them will be like, well, that doesn't figure. But if you talk
Mm,
about the Mercury square Mars
yeah.
or Moon Uranus, they'll know precisely what you mean,
Hmm.
usually, if you explain it well enough. So you learn what to zoom in, to
Yeah,
zoom
that's
in.
very helpful. Yeah,
You
yeah,
do,
yeah.
but yes, you do too much preparation. These days, the preparation simply is writing the transits
Yep.
and making a note of the solar arcs on the outside, and just circling the stelliums or the
Yep.
aspects I want to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and I'll trust that I'll find my way in.
Yeah.
And I often say a little prayer while
Mm,
I'm in a session, particularly one maybe where the client is distressed or I feel like we haven't really hit the nail on the head. And I'll
mm,
just say a little prayer of allow me to say something or to get to something or allow the client to be sparked off to think of something that is going to be extremely helpful to them. So it might be an image that I have
mm,
or something that just gives them hope or faith or whatever it may be.
yeah.
That is really useful. So I often
Mm,
stop and just think, hang on a minute. I need a bit of input or a bit of insight to give
hmm.
them something a little bit more
Ah,
than what they're getting.
that's a good tip for
So
all
it
of us
helps. It
students
helps.
there.
Generally, not eating too much before a session is important.
Mm,
Being enthusiastic, allowing somebody to talk.
yeah.
When you're Gemini rising, that could be difficult, or you're an Aries and you want to tell people what to do. Well, I've learned to listen generally.
Yeah,
Um,
so true. That's something that we as astrologers also have to learn too, because it's that idea that I'm going to say what they are coming for me to question me. So I have to say what they want to hear, and that brings a lot of pressure. So yeah, sometimes they only want to be listened to. There's something. Especially in the society we live in today, people are not being listened to. So yeah, that's so
that's right.
important.
Whether they call it being heard or being seen, whatever it is, a an hour or 75 minutes with an astrologer is a huge investment
Yeah,
of often of money. It can be a
yeah,
lot of money. But I
definitely.
say to my students, some of those people will be spending that amount of money on cigarettes that week
Yep.
and or
Mm,
whatever they spend on. And so spending 100, 200, maybe more pounds on a session that could change their lives,
mm,
could get them back on track,
yeah,
is worth a lot of money. So I'm not saying overcharge, but I'm saying don't
the
undercharge.
charge.
What we do is
Yeah,
so
that's
really,
very
really
important
powerful.
also. Yes, yes, especially for students starting, the idea that you also, even though of course there's maybe some things you don't want to go how do you say that in English, to do to charge more than you could do,
Yeah,
because you are starting. Also there's the experience that counts also, of course, but sometimes it's so little that it's very it brings other astrologers down, and I don't know, that's also something, I don't know if you have
it's,
thought about that.
well, I put up my prices a few years ago when I saw that one of my students was charging much more than me.
Yeah.
It made me laugh, and I thought, okay, I'm obviously that's okay. And every time I put up my prices, I work harder.
Yep.
That's just me because I
Yep.
think, yeah, I've even though I know I generally do a good job, hopefully do a good job, I just know that I've always done that. I've always thought, well, they're being charged more. I've got
Hmm.
to work harder.
Yeah, the question of
I'm
value.
amazed.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm amazed at what people charge, particularly when they may not know much about astrology or they've got a YouTube
Hmm.
channel,
Yeah.
um, and they know they can charge 500, £750
Oh.
for whatever it is, or thousand pounds. I'm astonished by that, and yeah, that it bothers me as well,
Yeah.
because people think they're getting something
Mm.
because they're paying a lot for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's. But I say to my students, look at the books that you paid for, look at the courses that you've invested in. Your time and your experience and your knowledge is worth money. So do not sell it for it. Don't give it away.
Yes.
Have an exchange of energies if you want to. You know, but make sure you're happy with that exchange. If you're doing an astrology consultation for somebody's, it's a 2 hour or an hour and a half consultation, but you're getting a 15-minute head massage from somebody, you're not going to feel necessarily that's a good exchange. So it has to be a good exchange if you're going to
Mm.
have an exchange.
Of course.
Or you charge an amount that feels okay.
Mm.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the end, I think that's the you feel confident doing it, asking for that, and at the same time, yeah, being true to yourself in what you are doing. Um, this next question, maybe you already said a little bit about it, but what is the greatest satisfaction you get from your work as an astrologer? One or two things you said that the idea of helping
Yeah.
people, and yeah.
Helping, teaching, that
Mm,
penny dropping, that
mm,
idea
mm,
of somebody going away feeling they understand their
yeah.
relationships better, for example, that's wonderful.
Mm,
Um, Also, just the enjoyment of seeing connections,
yeah.
not just for clients, but myself. When
Yeah.
when you go through something difficult in your life, maybe somebody has died or somebody is ill or there's a divorce, just seeing that it's maybe, yeah, I wouldn't say it was meant to be, because that's a different way of seeing it. Um, yeah, I don't believe everything works out okay in the end, because it doesn't for people, or everything. But I think everything, you can see meaning in everything.
Mm,
I think astrology gives us an insight into uh, everything we're going through, or if we've had another relationship where it's ended up the same way, astrology can give us a reflection on why that's happened. It's
mm,
not all about their chart.
yeah.
I'm never going to marry another moon in Scorpio or whatever, all of the things that people say. I did say myself, and I still did. And those things. But in reality, we're uh, it helps us to look at ourselves, and it opens the door. One of the things that I did a few years ago, I did a course, a short course called the Art of Chart Analysis, and it was a fun course to do. And what I did it was a live course that we recorded and etc. But I showed a Mercury square Neptune in a chart, and I didn't say whose chart it was. And we got some very interesting combinations of words and phrases and
Mm,
ideas of being very creative with words and all of those sorts of things
yeah.
of Mercury and Neptune.
Mm,
And then when I revealed it was Donald Trump's chart, in the chat box comes liar, deceiver, this and this and that, and I thought it was so interesting
yeah.
because how
Absolutely. That.
we approach something,
Mm,
and it sort of didn't make me laugh, but it reminded me of what we do so easily, how we see something
mm,
in somebody's chart, say, that's the reason why they do that,
yeah.
and then you see somebody who doesn't do it, but they've got the same position in their chart. We need to be more flexible and open to this finger wagging. This is that in your chart. That must be this problem. Um, and the other thing about somebody like Trump is that whatever you think of him, and I don't live in America, so I can't speak from living in America, but
Yeah.
whatever you think of him, and half of America does think a lot of him, apparently, um, he is being his chart.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Mm,
his
mm,
chart.
mm,
So there's something incredibly, I wouldn't say refreshing about it, but it's a reminder that if somebody is authentic, even if you don't agree, and even if they behave badly or they do wonderful things, whatever it is that you think about that person, the fact that they're being authentically themselves and you can see it in their chart is a reminder for us not to be judging too harshly
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
anybody else.
And
Uh,
isn't that the idea of the multivalence of the archetypes in
yes,
astrology?
yes, indeed.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's always shadow and light
It is,
together.
and it depends on how you want to see
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah,
And
and
also, yeah, what you want to do with it also when it's your chart, when it's you,
yes,
yeah, you
what you
have some
choose to do.
agency also.
The students said, "Well, how come he has Mercury in Cancer?" And I said, "Well, he is extremely sensitive to what people say about him."
Yeah, of
And
course. Yeah.
he responds in a
Mm,
sort of crab-like way, you
yeah.
know. So anyway, it's people are fascinating, and I think the
Mm,
greatest satisfaction is seeing people be their charts, to be who
mm,
they are. And I
yes.
think that's really our only big commitment to
Mm,
ourselves is to spend this time on this dark little planet, trying to be who we were born to be.
mm,
And the chart gives us that remarkable insight into that. And many other things do. You could
yeah.
study iridology, you could study hands, you could study 101 different things that give you an insight. But to me, astrology speaks loudest in that
Yeah.
way. So I get a
So,
lot of satisfaction from that and from people understanding themselves, me understanding myself better.
mhm. And we come to the last question. Are there
Yes.
any common misconceptions from your point of view about astrology that you would like to correct or highlight today?
I used to want to be the great protector of astrology, the evangelist, uh, going on television and I used to do a lot of TV and radio talking
Okay.
about astrology, talking with skeptics, and uh, there are some people that do that far better, and I'll leave that to them, and I'd rather not bother to do that. I always say, if you want to learn, if you've got astrology is one of those subjects where everybody seems to have an opinion about it. Only
Yes.
certain people have actually studied it. So I'll say to people who don't believe in it,
Mm,
which again, is it a belief system?
mm,
Many people don't think so. It's a symbolic system of connections.
yes.
That to me is what it is. Um, I say to them,
Or
go and
an art form, yeah, even.
oh, what? Sorry, what was that?
An art form,
Yes,
even. Yeah.
yes, yes. Um, and there's scientific aspects of it, and there are art uh,
Yes.
aspects to it. And
Yes.
art is learning to speak and speak the language that we call astrology. So
Mm,
I no longer try and persuade other people, except
mm,
to say, learn about it, get your chart read,
mm.
meet somebody, go and see somebody that has been recommended and see what they do. Somebody that's not just predicting the future. So those sorts of misconceptions of it being just a form of prediction. And we have astrologers who say if you don't predict as an astrologer, then you shouldn't have the right to be an astrologer. There are all different opinions on
Mm,
what we do and how we do it inside astrology and outside of it.
mm,
So there's a lot of different viewpoints. What I would The big thing that annoys me at the moment more, and maybe it's the
yep.
move Uranus moving into Gemini,
Hmm.
there seems to be just so many little snippets of trivial information blown up to be important on social media.
Mm,
So it's the shadow period of Mercury, and this
yeah.
this is the most important date of the year. Probably
Hmm.
not, or whatever,
No.
And it's just to get clicks, it's to get interest.
Yeah.
And what we're sort of abusing the quality, the value
Hmm.
of an insightful, in-depth consultation or moment with astrology. Instead, we're just getting a flash of something in order for somebody to get another 1,000
Yep.
followers, whatever it may
Absolutely.
be.
Yeah.
So it bothers me that people are getting misconceptions from astrologers
Hmm.
of what may be important, what's something you must listen to this week,
Hmm.
and so that bothers me a bit.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Sorry, and even are they astrologers? Because today, and even as Uranus is entering Gemini, all the artificial how do you say IA? No,
AI, AI, yes,
AI. In
yeah,
French,
yeah.
it's the
IA, yes.
contrary. Yeah, people just chat with the GPT and then they do a post on Instagram about it, maybe also.
Yes.
So yeah, that's
And I'm bothered about the
mm,
misinformation out there, and what people are receiving and how it's affecting their health, how it's affecting their mind.
mm,
These are things that bother me about it. So it's not so much the misconception about astrology,
yeah,
but there's
the way it's being
really
used.
it's the way it's being used. And
Mm,
because if you really want to know about astrology, you can buy a good book. You can go
yeah.
on websites. You can
Mm,
find out about what it's really about,
mm-hmm,
or you can get a different set of opinions.
mm-hmm.
But the problem of bastardizing it bothers me more, and I think
Yeah.
we have to fight for that. In with Uranus in Gemini, we may
Mm,
be shut down. I had a student the other day who's I think it was I'm not sure which company it was, but they closed down her astrology site because it wasn't in line with their policy. And in England, we have, if you're going to talk astrology in not magazines, in on television,
mm-hmm.
it has to be for entertainment purposes only.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That bothers
Mm,
me as well.
yeah.
So we're going to have
Mm,
to keep fighting for the right to have our ancient wisdom
mm-hmm.
uh, alive and well and there. And one of the ways to fight it is not be putting out trash.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That to me is important, to be putting
Yeah.
out things that are intelligent perspectives on astrology and thoughtful ideas, rather than junk. And there's a lot of
Mm.
junk out there, and
Oh
that
yeah.
bothers me. Yeah.
Mm. Um, so thank you, Frank. Frank, could you tell us if you have, well, you have a big project going on at the moment, right, with the Mountain Astrologer. Could you tell us a little bit more about that, maybe?
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, I'll say this because the owner said this in a video recently, but TMA, Mountain Astrologer, went bankrupt over a year, almost 2 years ago, I think now, or about a year ago, I think it was. And I've always been involved in its
Yeah.
production in some
Mm-hmm.
way
Mm-hmm.
for, well, the last 15 years, maybe more, 17 years. And um, it was I had an opportunity to buy it and to revitalize it. So I've been doing that. And we're looking for you know, people who want to be part of the broader perspective of translating TMA to different languages and all of that. So we're looking at that at the moment. But I didn't want to lose it. It was an important part of the
Yeah.
English language speaking world for many, many years, over 30 years. So, and
Mm-hmm.
Tem was a great man, great, gentle soul. He founded the magazine. So I felt it was important to do that. And so, but I wouldn't have taken it on if I couldn't have put it under the umbrella of my school.
Yeah.
That confuses a few people. Like, why, you go on to the London School of Astrology and the Mountain Astrologer is there.
Yeah.
It just means we can put the issues and the videos and the extra things that we give, the interviews, they can all be done as videos in a sort of course framework. So you can use the flip book and have a look at everything, but you can also just watch videos. So I wouldn't have done it if I couldn't put it under that platform, because it would have just been a whole
Yeah, a whole
another project,
separate
right?
thing with yeah being yeah
All
I
of
find
them.
that it's very interactive when you go to the LSA. You can see the Mountain Astrologer. So yeah, everything
Well,
is there. So
I
it's
hope
easy
so.
to
I hope
find.
I hope so. I mean, there are videos to show you where to find things if you
Yep.
need to, but there's always going to be people who are a little bit computer phobic. But
Yeah.
I think we've managed to convert most of them
Hmm.
now. So they watch and they watch the videos and they read the articles or they
Hmm.
download the PDFs, all of
Yeah.
that. So
I
it's
will
a
put
great.
all the links below also.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Great project. I've said I'm going to give it 3 years to see what
Mm.
develops.
Hmm.
We've just put out a new hard copy with interviews with people, different work. So
Yeah.
there are people who want the online, they're very happy with that and they're part of that. And there are people that always want to have the physical magazine in their hand. So
Hmm.
we decided instead of just copying it, we decided to do one or two a year of the actual physical magazine
Hmm.
of brand new articles, new things. So we've just released one of those. I've been very busy the last few months. It's been
Yeah,
crazy,
I can see. And what
but
and
good
that
stuff.
magazine is also well, for us who are not in the UK, I saw that it's in Amazon, right?
It's
With
yes, it's on Amazon at the moment. I'm hoping we can get it in other places. So people who are a little bit Amazon phobic at the moment,
yeah,
politically, they can get it elsewhere.
yeah, but it's so difficult to buy from the UK at the moment when we are in Europe having the
Yes, so
taxes.
it should be published. If you go onto your Amazon.fr or whatever EU, it should be there to be able to purchase.
Yeah.
And I just hope they haven't made it too expensive. That's
Hmm.
that's my only wish with it all. But yeah, so it's there. Thank you. And it's a project. I believe in that. We've got some great writers, and um, I tried it. I want to keep intelligent astrology alive. There are lots of people doing it. I'm not saying I'm the only one, but I really it's to combat the idea of it being nonsense,
Hmm.
instant,
Yeah.
uh, blown out of proportion nonsense we were talking about just now. So
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons why I didn't want the mountain astrologer to go. I
And
didn't want it.
also the history of it, because it's such yeah, it's a magazine that I remember when I started. It was the first one that I saw it and read, and because there was not well, we didn't had really good magazines like that in French or Portuguese, because I'm Portuguese also. um but yeah, it was a very it's a foundational, let's say, a magazine for astrology. Yeah.
Yes. So
Do you
I
have any other, maybe other things going on that you would like to tell us
um,
about?
always something
Mhm.
with the LSA. We've always got a course coming up, a particular fundraiser. I do a lot of fundraising now for people. We've raised over $100,000 in the last few years for every type of, animal shelters and
Oh,
children's
yeah.
charities. And
Mhm.
I just felt that because the LSA was growing and we were bringing a lot of students in, um, how much does one person need?
Yeah.
So my attitude was, let's use the popularity of the school to fundraise.
Oh, oh, that's
And
so
yeah.
wonderful.
So we're doing that. That's great. So I love those. I need to update the list of fundraisers because it's
Hmm.
very, very
Hmm.
behind. So there's always going to be something like that. But people can come online. They can
Yeah.
get an account for free and they can download and have a look at the free videos and
Yeah, you have a lot of free videos. I have watched those, and they are wonderful. They can give a lot of information, and
oh,
I recommend everyone to go and check that out.
thank you. Thank you. And good luck with your new channel, your
Yeah,
revive.
yeah, I'm reviving it. It was the last time that Jupiter was in Gemini, 12 years, 13 years ago, that I
Oh, I
started
see.
it.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
So it's time to come back and get
But
that.
then I yeah, I stopped because then I started doing the French one that went a little bit viral for a few years, and then I stopped again. Yeah, the Gemini moon,
So
a little
you're
bit of
you fluent in Portuguese, you say, and French as well, are you?
Portuguese. Yeah, I do speak four languages: Portuguese, French, English, and Italian.
Okay.
Um,
Well, I'm impressed. Yes, yes. We English don't learn languages as well as other countries sometimes. So
yeah,
yeah, I'm
yeah, but
impressed.
yeah, maybe the Jupiter in the ninth house or the Gemini moon and
And
all
many
of
other
that.
things, I'm sure. Yes.
Thank you so
Wonderful.
much, Frank.
You're
And
very welcome. You're very
it was
welcome.
a wonderful conversation. And
Thank you.
speak to you soon.
Thank
Bye.
you.